report. So let's do the discussions. And we know that in Kenya currently the elections are ongoing. And in South Africa, the parliament is getting ready for that vote of no confidence against their president, Jacob Zuma. We'll see how it goes. But great dynamics. Let me just introduce my guest for the morning. I have Obi Amwa. Osei Bonsuamwa is the Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. And he's also a Member of Parliament for Ukap himself. Thanks for joining me, Obi.
Thank you, Roland. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, sir. And Ni Lante van der Poy and Boss Edwin, Boss van der Poy, Boss Van P is a Member of Parliament for the Ododo Dio constituency. We have some small secrets. So it's only mutual to all three of us in the studio. How are you, sir?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
Amen. And Obi, I have to ask you about the Kenyan elections. And we know that it's got a great history. There's some history behind this because we know 10 years ago a lot of things happened.
Yes, good morning again, Roland, and to me and to our viewers. Well, elections in Africa are very difficult situations. And for the Kenyan situation, it's even more difficult because of what happened 10 years ago. So many lives lost, property destroyed, even some leaders sent to the international courts. And then things have not been the same, I must say. But thankfully, they managed to hold another one in 2013. They are doing another major elections this year. The stakes are very high because for the two of them, more or less, this will be the last time that you have to stand for the elections, And for Odinga, after this time, if he doesn't make it, he will not be a candidate again.
You mean he's likely not to be a candidate?
I don't think they will vote him for that. And then for Kenyatta, of course, he's trying to go for the second term amidst all the major issues, especially corruption issues and then unemployment and all those things. So the stakes are very high, to the extent that even our own Mark Menu was not allowed to enter Kenya because they said that he's too close to the opposition, in the sense that as chairman of Democratic Union of Africa and vice of International Democratic Union, he plays a very key role in mobilizing the Democratic Union. Yes. And thankfully,
parties of like minds.
Yes, it happened in Nigeria, it happened in Ghana, so they are scared that these people, if we don't take care, it will happen in Kenya. And
well, the year has not ended. The wave is still blowing.
The wave is still blowing, and it's very unfortunate because before he even entered, a story had been planted worldwide that he was behind a coup attempt. That is how serious it was. That the coup attempt in Kenya, and then said that the opposition leader is mobilizing his ethnic group in the military, and that they are planning to rig the elections. If they don't succeed, then they would attempt a coup. And then those behind the rigging are Mark Menu, and they even got their dates wrong. That's the same thing they did in November 2016 in Ghana, blah, 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 blah. Later on, the site came to disown the story that they didn't put it there. That was before even BBC and CNN had also come out that people are planting fake stories in their name. So we wish them very well. We pray that everything goes on well. That is not the end of the world if you don't win. Life should go on. He who lives to fight, the saying that he who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. As I always say, elections are not life and death situations. So we wish them well. We pray that everything goes on well, and the best candidate should win. Especially for Kenya, the ethnic lines are so sharp that if you're not careful, at least it leads to conflagration.
Yeah, thank you very much, Roland. And let me also say good morning to you, the viewers, and also to my friend and brother Obi. The Kenyan situation is very, very crucial as far as the stability and the peace of the Horn of Africa is concerned. I was blessed to have been the vice president of UNIDO, and so I frequently visited Kenya. I spent days in Kenya. After the disturbances of 10 years ago, they've done well as a country to stabilize and also make some strides. Economically, they are moving. Let me say yes. Kenya, just like Ghana, opportunities have become so open to a lot of young guys and young girls, education-wise. You know, they also have some good universities. So day in and day out, they are churning out a lot of graduates. Unfortunately, job openings do not commensurate with the number of graduates that are coming out. And as such, unemployment has become a difficult thing, especially for the middle-class people. Kenya has thrived, just like any of these British colonial areas, on civil service and public service. It is now that privatization, especially for the Indian settlers, and is opening up industries so that they can get a lot of young guys in. One area they are doing so well is agro-industry and horticulture. They are doing very well in that area. And Uhuru Kenyatta has done well by rebranding Kenya. Politically and economically, he has rebranded Kenya so well that they are doing very well. Investors are coming in. Unfortunately for the issue of Kenya and the problem between him and Raila Odinga dates back to their fathers. So they've all inherited the competition and the fiery contest between their fathers. And it's always become, like Obi said, much more of tribal, political issues than really personality issues. Most of the time, the south, the central, and then the north. What gives Uhuru Kenyatta the strength is the combination of he from the south and the middle belt and picking the vice president from the north. And that has really worked for him. It will depend on how Raila Odinga will be able to mobilize and take vote away from Uhuru Kenyatta from the south, especially Nairobi, where the issue of unemployment and joblessness and things have become a key issue in the political campaigning. I hope that Kenyans will make it another good turn these elections after the last time. The last time there were a lot of suspicion. International cameras were on Kenya thinking that the country was going to burst. But they succeeded in going through elections without any hitch. I'm hoping that this one will be. That's why I think they've taken all these daring precautions. And the issue of Mark Meno is very unfortunate indeed. The country itself has become very suspicious of almost everybody. There's mistrust and they can't trust anybody. You know, the issue of Al-Shabaab is also there, hanging on them from the northern part of the country. So they've always been very curious with their security already. So any suspicion about anybody could warrant unnecessary diplomatic, you know, let me say, hurdles. But the election generally, I think, will be peaceful. So far, I don't really see the campaigning as being bitter like it happened in the past. 10 years ago was very, very serious, the campaign itself. But this particular time, I think that the two leaders themselves have reformed in their language. And let me comment the two of them. The Kenyans did what we call, like what we did here, reconciliation. And it was well patronized. And the two leaders also did very well by addressing this reconciliation. And that watered down the tension between their parties and their supporters. The Kenyans, by nature, are warriors. Historically.
You know, because of the Maasai.
Because of the Maasai and all. So a little bit of thing, try to bring that thing in them. So a lot more of advocacy, talking, and will help matters. And I'm happy so far. The group that is led by President John Mahama has done very well to also talk about it so that we can achieve it. I wish them well. I wish Kenya well.
There are many observers. What do you have to mention? But let's move on.
The Commonwealth Observer Group, led by John Mahama.
He said in the Commonwealth Observer Group. Okay, that's a credible group as well. But it was not fair that McMahon was just deported. That was a fair thing at all.
They were becoming paranoid.
Maybe Kenyatta got some tip-off somewhere from
his friends here.
Opana.
Well, they brought him here.
From Opana.
That McMenu is what?
McMenu is dangerous man.
He's a very dangerous hacker.
He doesn't do anything about hacking.
Anyway, so let's look at
Are
this.
you sure he didn't go with Anoche?
He's the man they brought from Kenya to Ghana in the brochure. They said president of Ghana.
You see, huh?
The father was made honorary president of Ghana by Nkrumah, so don't worry.
Anyway, so we have a story that we've been getting over the last, I believe, 36 or 48 hours about apparently arrests being made by the National Anti-galamsey Task Force, and they are on Operation Vanguard. And within the period, there was one person that died in the process. And it's something that government is committed to. But it also means that people are still recalcitrant in many ways.
Well, thank you again. It's interesting in this country. Sometimes people think that laws don't work in this country. And sometimes they even dare those who are to enforce the law. And if you remember when this whole operation was launched, the defense minister said, don't dare them. These are security persons who have instructions to maintain law and order and peace. Don't dare them, don't provoke them. Don't create the impression that maybe you are more, they are few, so you can take them on. And coming from the background that security persons are losing their lives of late, in very rapid succession, under very bizarre circumstances, you should be sure that they will be more alert and they will not take anything for granted. They've started the operations. It's obvious that people are recalcitrant, adamant, they want to do their own thing. And they've managed to even seize equipment from the various sides to show that indeed people are still operating when they have been asked to stop. In this particular case, we have heard the two versions. From the Vanguard side, what they are saying is that they were pelted with stones. And some even started shooting, so they had to respond. From the family of the deceased, they said, indeed, they ran away. They were even resting somewhere until they heard gunshots and they saw that he was dead. Whatever it is, there should be some inquiry. We should not allow the operation to get a very bad image. And because of the operation, innocent people are being killed. At the same time, it should be a warning to those who still want to pursue this, that the implications are very serious. You will be arrested, your equipment will be seized. If you try to indulge in violence, you may lose your life. Because you are now going to face people who are well trained and well armed. And now knowing that if they don't position themselves well, they themselves may lose their lives. It's early days yet, but I believe the command structure would want to know what really happened and would want to address some of these things. For the police, they've asked for autopsy report so that they also will pursue what they need to pursue. It's very unfortunate that has happened. We're praying that nobody will lose a life in this whole operation. But there's this determination to make sure that we keep our environment clean and safe, and that what we have spent so much resources and time and everything to stop, we're not going to leave it halfway for it to be a 9-day wonder or business as usual, or that's what they say in Akan. You start kiki and then it fizzles away. This is a full-blown thing that is going on. It will continue. In the meantime, the programs which have been put in place for alternative livelihood, we should still pursue it and educate the average person that there are alternative arrangements. Galamsey may be a way of making quick money, but it's illegal. It's illegal. The consequences are dire. So you can't say that that's all that I want to do because I don't have a job. that doesn't mean that you should pursue legal things, because some have been arrested. If they are tried and they are jailed, we've lost your freedom. You go in and come back as convict. And that doesn't even allow you to get certain decent jobs. So I think we should spend more time educating people. Because we sitting here may think that it's not our headache, it's not our problem. But what is happening would then affect everybody. If you're using cyanide to take your gold, and it affects the vegetation, affects the food we eat, and the food is not grown here but it's brought from there, that means that we sitting out somewhere, as they say, we are affected by it. So that is why we should see it as a national issue, a national effort. Granted that there is poverty, granted that people want jobs, granted that they are looking for alternatives, we should not encourage the illegal alternative. Otherwise, then every illegal alternative, we should rationalize it by saying that because they want jobs, because they need money, and then we go ahead. I wish the operation very well. They had to be very professional, as much as possible. But they should also make sure that nobody will take their lives because they are working for the nation. It will be a very bad signal, very bad incentive for those we put on the ground.
Okay. Now, after what the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources did with his deputy and undertook, of course, with the backing of government, now government scaling that to that level, in my ordinary mind, I would think that the communities and the illegal miners would have been aware that this is now a big national tax that government has taken on, and so would not venture into some of those illegal areas. Because I was wondering, for personnel of Operation Vanguard to go to those sites and see them there, it means that they've been perpetrating the wrong all along.
Yes, Roland, you see, when people desire to do something, and to them, what they are doing is the only means of survival, they do not really care.
Really?
Roland, day in and day out, we hear about boat disasters on people who try to cross the Mediterranean to Europe. But people every day still venture.
Very true.
Because if they are convinced in their minds and their hearts that that's the only way for survival and for prosperity, they don't really care the dangers involved. Years ago, I remember very well, in Takwa, Obuasi area, that time Anti-galamsey is not on this scale. Even that time, task force and soldiers and police come chasing people, but the following day you see people going back. People fall into pit, die, but the following day others go to do the same thing. So those people are daring. Remember 2 weeks ago we talked about this issue, and I commended the Minister for Defense for his, the same thing Obi has said. Critically speaking, let me say this. The only way to destroy this national campaign is to give the program a bad name. So people will intentionally, dare the soldiers and the task force to cause a friction, and eventualities and accidents like this will happen. And when they happen, the way Ghanaians are so sympathetic for the dead, and people will now sympathize more. The people will be playing the victim.
Yes.
As against the task force and the whole country. And if you're not careful, that is where some people, civil society groups and things, who always want, because even armed robbers, when they are arrested and they are being dealt with by people, you will see others coming in and begging for them. Ghanaians have this innate attitude of sympathy towards a victim. So that is what these people will be playing. That's definitely going to be one of their strategies leading up to this. That when the intensity of the task force work, in fact, becomes too much for them, then they will try to play the victim through these things. And so I will ask, just as Obi said, the task force to be very professional in this. They should exercise maximum restraint under all provocations. Serious provocations will come. These stone throwing and things are just the beginning. I know some of these guys are armed and things like that. And they will do so. But then the army should only, the task force, I would not want to use the word army because there are policemen too there. They should only exercise maximum force when they are under serious threat. So that in as much as we want to contain this, we don't also give the whole program a bad name. Two, I would say this to the communities. Maybe what we didn't do as a nation is that we look at the problem, we talk about it, but we didn't sensitize the public very well, especially in those communities where these things are being done. There was only one national forum with chiefs, in Accra to talk about this issue. I believe seriously the Ministry of Information and the Information Services could have done themselves some good in the whole nation, NCC, and to try and mount some advocacy work, campaign in those communities. Posters depicting the dangers of mine in those communities. So that when we have sensitized, majority of the people in those communities will accept this. And then they will one-on-one even advise their own colleagues, friends, and families who are engaged in this. But we didn't do that very well. And to be frank with you, where it has gotten to, the communities are now seeing themselves are under threat, as being under threat.
Not even threat, siege.
Under siege, yes, under siege. So it behoves on us that as we embark on this, we also add the education, the advocacy part to it. So that people will understand that not that we want to deprive you of your livelihoods, but this is what we want to do. We want to secure the environment, we want to sustain the environment for you, but then there are other opportunities for you to do something for yourself. So that the two will go hand in hand, and then we'll be able to achieve the result. But like Obi said, I also wish the task force the best, and I will only take the opportunity to advise young men and women in those communities where this galamsey is happening to think twice about what they are doing and to think about tomorrow's future for their children and children's children, and restrain themselves. If you've enjoyed the booties of galamsey for some time now and it's gotten to a level where we think that enough is enough, you should understand the little income you've earned, redirect it to other areas of business and enterprise, and you'll be successful.
Well, spend as you earn. That's how it is. But at the end of the day, ideally, we have traditional authorities there, yes. And we even have the heads of security being the local government appointees, the MMDCs, etc. Shouldn't they be preparing the way by perhaps complementing the efforts of the team before they come in, so that the team doesn't go there or to a certain particular area and go to meet some of these confrontations, so to speak?
Well, I think by and large, those engaged in this whole business are aware. They are aware. It's just like Abaye. You understand? It's just like Abaye. They say, don't sell here. They will go and stand there, carry their things. They only move when they hear the cry that they are coming. So it's the same thing, those places. This money have to go. I only put people on the alert. If they hear anything or if we see them coming, then we run away. That is the strategy they want to adopt. I won't be surprised that they won't even want to know the movement of the troops and the hours so that they will try to outwit them. But these people are professionals. If you look, it won't work because they know what they are about. They have the maps of all those places and they know how they should go in. The best thing is to surrender. Surrender in the sense that I bought this thing. If you've invested in it, it's unfortunate, but at this stage, it's better than losing your life or being arrested and then
at the local government level,
at the local government level, every chief executive is the head of security in that district. So if it's DISEC or MISEC regarding the municipalities, they are in charge of security. So they coordinate everything. But as you said, between them and traditional authorities, they should still continue with the education. They should still let people be aware that these are the implications. And once this is a national effort, there's no way that we're going to stop this. So they better look for
An alternative
or other avenues.
But I think at the management level, it's a collaboration between ministries.
Yes.
I was informed that local government,
environment, the cabinet subcommittee,
yeah,
environment
is chairing.
Part of it. And you are also, as a ministry?
As ministry, yes, local government. It's part of it.
That is good enough. If that will trickle down to the local level, where all the heads of department of these areas will work together in this. But you see, the difficulty we have is the fact that in some of these areas, these people we are mentioning are actually stakeholders in the whole thing. You know, you may not know, Roland, a lot of some of our DCs are those who virtually facilitate these things, or their brothers and their kids are those involved in the thing.
So say a lot. You may say some. You say a lot.
But in the areas where these things are happening,
216.
No, I mean in the areas, the galamsey is not happening in 216 districts.
But
where it's happening, some of them, majority of them.
No.
Majority of them.
You can't say majority of them.
Obi. Majority of them, they are brothers.
In affected areas.
In affected areas.
Well,
it becomes difficult.
So it's almost like when you come from there, it's a trade.
Yes, the chiefs and the thing you are talking about, it is their brothers and their nephews and who are involved. Their kinsmen who are involved in it. So sometimes their constraint is like we're selling off our own people, and that's the difficulty. That's what I'm saying.
Conflict of interest situation.
Advocacy is so key in this battle.
Okay.
If the overlords themselves get them used to the fact that, look, let's now transit into another venture, then it becomes difficult. Then the whole community will follow up.
Okay. So there's a story that has been attributed to the senior minister, and Yao Safumafo was speaking at the 2017 Ghana Economic Forum. It started yesterday.
Yes.
And he's been warning that government may no longer be able to employ public servants because we seem to have a very choked public service in terms of personnel, what they can do, and also the wage bill, etc. Should it be a big concern for, well, not only the working demographics of our population, but also how efficient the public service could be in making sure that we have the efficient rationalization and all that to make sure we also conserve some kind of money as far as the budget is?
Well, the sensational media is making it look like your headline is saying, government will lay off public service workers. But in the body of your story, you are saying that, and perhaps we may have to even lay some workers off. So here he's giving conditions and even saying, using the may.
So you are saying that's not categorical?
Yes, your headline is categorical.
Yes.
That's number one. Number two, if indeed you want to do prudent management, then you have to be sure that any person you recruit, you should be able to at least pay the salaries of such persons. One of the major problems finance ministers face is where people have been recruited without financial clearance. Immediate past, Tepe suffered a lot under this situation. Remember, there was a time that NADMO, between 3,000 and 5,000 had been recruited, and there was no financial clearance. So after some years, they had no alternative than to jump on the streets and move to finance that we want our money. When I go there, Tepe said, I don't know.
I don't officially know you.
I don't know that you have been employed. So that aspect is there. And I know that for this year, the instructions from the ministry is that no MDA should recruit without financial clearance. That is one aspect of it. The other aspect is that, of course, with the IMF program, which we are hoping that, or which we have stated, that 2018 will be the last budget under IMF. There's a certain freeze on recruitment apart from the health and education sector. That is also a fact. Then there's also the fact that even if you want to employ in the public sector, there's a limit to which you can employ. Unless you want to do forced employment and forced production. 5 people can do this job, but put 50 people there just to pay them. And sooner or later, it will catch up with you, your economy will collapse. So for the public sector, there's a limit to which these employments can be made. But that is why it is important that you focus on mainly the private sector, and then programs and projects that as government you can generate to absorb a lot of people. Why? Recently, we had to give clearance to about 5,000 nurses and other people who have been sitting at home for years. Because that was the situation.
Well, they haven't been fully posted yet. Some of them still go picket.
No, those are those who are trained in the private sector.
But they've not been.
It's just like, no,
they are not part of the 5,000.
No, it's just like saying that private security, they go and train you. Then when you come back, say they employ me in the army. So we have to be realistic to know that if you want to create jobs, it's not the public sector that you should focus. I know the Ministry of Trade, for instance, they are doing what they call the stimulus package. They've identified about 80 private companies, factories, where they're trying to put money in to revamp these factories, so that these factories will then employ more people, so that the employment rate will go up. So, in a sense, it's trying to tell us what we already know and what is the reality. But if you make it that sensational, then say government has come to sack people from their work instead of bringing people on board. But that is not what he really means. It was at a forum, and then he was making a point.
Yes, it was at the Ghana Economic Forum. I've attended a couple of them.
Yes.
And
he was saying that when it comes to the private sector, these are the challenges.
Because the key thing, they look at basic indicators, how the private sector can grow.
That's why we are talking about the one.
You're not worried that your opponent could use it politically against you, because it was a big deal.
Oh,
you in opposition.
Your opponent will be pretending to learn how you are dancing, and will be dancing his own way. That is why we are more focused on the one district, one factory thing, the planting for food and jobs.
So that you can show up.
Yes, okay. And even the railway projects. That when the president went to the Western region, the railway minister was talking about it, that the target is that by 2020 we have completed certain mileage and it would have generated so much, etc. The thing is to say that the average person should not focus so much in the public service. I know, for instance, that the Ministry of Local Government, the Local Government Service, is waiting for financial clearance to be able to recruit thousands of people across the country to go to their districts, to go and assist in running the districts. They are still waiting for the clearance. If they had their own way, they would have recruited about 2,000 people by now to spread them across the country. But they need the clearance, because without the clearance, one, it's even illegal to employ without clearance. And two, the person you are employing, fine, he would wake up in the morning, go to work, even borrow, hoping that
to survive.
His salary will come in. It may not come because it's not covered. So that is the context within which we have to put it.
Okay. And that should be it, because we're told what the conservative estimates are. We have, for a country of some 28 million, just around 700,000 people, and their wage bill, etc., doesn't commensurate to the output and the efficiency of work.
Yeah, Roland, let me first say this, and I want to correct Obi. Clearance for recruitment of nurses and other staff, auxiliary staff, was given as far back as November 2016.
November 2016?
Yeah. I sat in cabinet
after how many years?
When that clearance and warrant was given for the first batch of 2,000.
Because we were going for an election.
Yeah, not for election. Because we're not going
he says yes.
it's a process, and Setekwe had to get clearance from the IMF program and all those things first. Two, also stimulus package, I remember very well, under Professor Mills. We started stimulus package, NS Chemist, also Kina Pharma, and then this Ghanaian pharmaceutical company that...
on the Swinters Road?
Yeah, the one who produces the antiretroviral drugs.
That's Dampon.
Okay, then the rice farmers and all those things. So it's all systemic attempts by governments, successive governments, to make sure we address the issue of unemployment and joblessness. But let me say, job rationalization, I don't have anything against what Osafo said. It's only a country that is not prudent in the management of resources that will think that we can always employ. Since the days of PNDC, there has been different types of job rationalization going. I remember very well when we were in GBC, there was a job rationalization package that dropped the staff strength of GBC from about 1,000 something to about 500. And I remember those days people were even making the arguments that if a place like Joy FM, that small number, could be able to transmit and, do the same service with that minimal number of staff, why can't GBC also do the same? So many arguments that were put in. So job rationalizations have been something that is doing. But you see, the problem we have in this country is the way we play our politics. Instead of we politicians looking at the intent of the policy and the program, we look at what advantages we will take out of that.
And here you are referring to?
Yeah, I'm referring to all of us.
Okay.
I'm referring to all of us. So I think that in this particular theme, there's one line from Osafo Mafo which was very important, that it is time as a country we all decide to do the right thing and put the economy on the right footing. I agree. Last week I was listening to Setekwe when he was commenting on the media review. And he said the same thing. That one thing, it is time as a country, he will not play politics with it. He thinks that we all should all support the Minister of Finance to be able to build what he wants to do. And the issue of gift mix, for example, so that nobody will give contracts for which is not be budgeted for. And like Obi said, nobody will be recruited when you are not being given a guarantee to recruit. Because if you are recruited, you must have the resources to pay. And two, in a country where only about 560 to 700,000 people take close to 45% of all our domestic revenue, does it make sense? How will you survive education? How will you build infrastructure and the rest? So it is important that we look at first our education. And continuously we talk about this. Osafo mentioned it, that we have 20 public universities and about 75 private universities. And check, 80% of all these universities are producing people who are doing human resource, project management, the arts, the humanities. The focus on science and technology and vocational subjects, professional subjects, not there. So that we continue to churn out graduates who are not viable or will not be marketable as far as the job market is concerned. So there's no synchronization between industry and education. So a lot more people come out and there's no job for them to do. Some of these people, even when they are recruited, have to be trained to become productive people in the industry.
Before they can fit in.
Yeah. So as a country, it gets to a time when we should look at how many people do we need in this area? How many people do we need in that area? And how many people do we need in this area? Then we give quotas to the educational institutions on what sort of people they should admit in their schools. So if you know that in the next 10 years, our focus as a country is industry, then we look at how we can channel resources to public schools to focus on bringing our Kenyan graduates for industry.
Yeah.
And not spending time on humanities. Because even if we go to universities, the student population, the percentage of people who are doing the humanities and the social sciences are more than those who are doing the sciences and the rest. And so that as a country, we just not don't say that education institutions must redirect their courses to suit industry. No. we should be able as a country to sit there and say that in the next 10 years, what is our national economic focus? Is it agriculture? Is it science? Is it industry? Is it manufacturing? Then we can now ascribe or make out a policy to the education institution and say, look, from today, this percentage of your admissions must be towards this. And we are giving you money to focus on the training of this personnel. Then when they come out, they become marketable and they will be recruited to the industry. But we haven't done that. And once we look at rationalization, we cannot rationalize just at the public service level. We should rationalize from the educational sector so that it will have what I would call a sync with the people we will bring out. Other than that, we will continue to have problems. We will continue to have problems. And that is, it is not only peculiar to Ghana. Along the coast in West Africa, Nigeria is going through the same. Almost all of us. Liberia are complaining about the same thing.
The bloated public service.
Yes. Kenya. Today, Kenya have gone ahead to the extent that Kenya, they are seriously pursuing gov't. So drastically reduce the human resource base of our public or their public service. And they attend a lot of those people. I talk about horticulture and the number of people who are going into horticulture. And some of the universities are focused on just agriculture and they're making great efforts in that, great strides in that area. And I think we should also do the same.
So bloated public service also means that we are not going to have the needed growth that we need in terms of the financial management aspect. But how would this sit well with creating avenues for job opportunities?
Yes. For instance, I always talk about the Vodafone model. We used to have P&T. And P&T was just employing, just putting people in. And P&T was making losses.
Post and telecom.
Yes, then we came to GT, Ghana Telecom. Ghana Telecom inherited that same situation until we said that we were bringing in an investor before the controversy and everything. Because the major issue was that they were coming to lay off workers. They were coming to do that. But if you look at the model now, they've come in with the contribution of the partner being government. Things have been rationalized. The business is growing and more people are rather in the business.
Outside,
not necessarily employed by them.
Chain.
But the value chain is benefiting everybody.
Yes, true.
You understand? That somebody sits somewhere, he sets up a small kiosk. He's doing business.
And he's making ends meet.
He's making ends meet, and whether he's a graduate or not.
And people make serious money out of this one, yeah.
It's not only selling only cars. There are other things that you have to do. And now, even social media is so popular, and people, they are making money out of it.
Well, true.
Yes. So that is the kind of model that we should be looking at. The value chain. Not necessarily public service, but if you even encourage the state-owned enterprises and the private sector to look at that aspect. Somebody wants to grow cassava. But cassava can be used for so many things, including even plastic cups, which are biodegradable, which are so environmentally friendly that if you're able to produce and even manufacture it, you can export.
But that also brings to mind the subject of can we rationalize in such a way that we pay people off and then say we have a lean public service, but that is efficient? Because in many institutions that are doing well, the strength is lean, the framework is lean, they multitask and there's efficiency.
That should be the ultimate.
No, I mean, I'm asking this because can we stomach it politically?
Well, it depends. It cannot be done overnight. But where, because of IT and the information technology age, instead of 10 people doing some job, 3 people can do. Once everybody gets to understand this is the situation, that means that 7 people would have to be deployed elsewhere. Or when they retire, you don't need to bring more people. So all those things should, the only challenge is that sometimes we put everything very fine on paper. And we agree to do it, then the political thing comes in and everything goes haywire. That is the
Throws
challenge.
everything out of gear.
Yes, and then you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
That's why we can say that, oh, single digit deficit.
We take one step forward and two steps back. Especially
towards elections where we are pushed to a corner or we are blackmailed in a certain way. Say, it's obvious. You go for cabinet meeting and go and frighten the whole cabinet that if you don't employ people, we are losing elections. So come November, we have to give clearance and then be able to tell everybody that we are recruiting more people. Or cabinet has approved. The moment they say cabinet has approved, that means decisions have been taken. So now, feel free. You're going to employ more. They may even inflate their figures. Government may approve that 5,000 can be carried out. You come out and say, oh, within the next 2 years, 50,000 will be on.
But at the end of the day, the reality
will catch up with us. Yeah. So some of these things, but it's all about information and education. And the media, you are key. This morning I was telling Mama that very soon I should start marking the media. Yes. It's not only politicians that you should mark, we should also mark the media.
Sometimes we're very lackadaisical.
Yeah. Fourth estate of the realm.
Not circumspect. In many
information you put out, sometimes people carry it along.
Particularly like this headline.
Like this, your
government will lay off publics.
What's that? That is not. Or maybe this road toll thing. The road toll, I have to come in because my issue is that how far is the media educating the public, even about the processes?
Instead of just criticizing.
If indeed the contract was signed in October 2016, and DVLA is supposed to collect these tolls on behalf of whichever companies, there's no way DVLA can tell us that they are starting in July or September when they haven't brought the fees and charges to Parliament. And as we speak, no fees and charges have come. So how are they going to start it? That is why I want even the media to interrogate. That has Parliament seen the fees and charges? Has it been laid? Has it been sent to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee? Have they brought their report that we should accept the fees and charges? Well, nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. Then the year is running, we are on recess. When we come back, it's budget business and other bills, about 5 or 6 bills are awaiting us. So, but I haven't heard anybody talking about it.
So that's why you want the media to be circumspect on it?
Not circumspect, but educate us.
Educate us.
Inform us.
Yeah.
Don't jump on the bandwagon. I know some do. That's why I say that.
Actually, most of us do, actually. I know you want you want to be...
I'm glad you accept.
You want to be, I think, more...
more diplomatic.
Yes, yes, many of the times. But are there best practices we can learn from?
Yes, a lot. I've mentioned Kenya. Yeah. If you go to Botswana now, they also do the same. Rwanda, South Africa has one of the highest, unemployed.
That's at this morning, 27.7%.
Yeah, South Africa has one of the highest, but
of the population or employable population?
Employable population.
They slowly moving towards that. If you go to Europe, Spain is one of the countries you can look at best practice as far as rationalization of needs. But then, Roland, simple. Let's take some of it. We have traveled. If you go to UK, how many people do you see at the filling station dump? You get there, you park your car, you put the nozzle in, and then you move in, you go and pay.
But we can't do that here.
Why?
You'll be depriving people out of work.
You see, that's a rationalization I'm talking about.
Yes.
So it's about, as a country, we accepting that this is the way forward in order for us to be able to build national revenue and also be able to channel the revenue into other areas that will create more opportunities to more people than before. Because the truth of the matter is that I work in the ministry before, and sometimes I ask myself, how many people do this job? You go to an office and people are sitting there. You really do not know the way. I'm telling you, you really do not know what they do.
Filing.
I remember back in the day when you used to be at GBC and I came there, we used to work. Somebody would just be typing, that's all.
Yes. and I'm saying that if I can, if I've gone for an assignment and I've come back to write my story, can't I type my story myself? Yeah, and this time people are not
work for somebody.
I know people are not even coming to the office to type stories and to
you can just
everything from the sports. From your sport, you do everything.
Now if you mobile phone, you use it to send emails.
So I'm saying that we should understand that the world has changed The dynamics of the world today.
But the other reality is that people have graduated for 5 years, they are unemployed. How are we going to make sure that they get something to do?
How did they become unemployed?
Because they were not employed.
No,
they finished school and they were not employed.
They
were not employed, and the regime and the environment hadn't created a situation. And it's not everybody who is fortunate. My daughter has graduated. She's about to start her national service. Yesterday, the discussion I was having with her is, bring me a business plan. Bring me a business plan. Even if I have to go and borrow, I will borrow to see that you start your own business.
Which, of course, you will not borrow.
Oh, why not? If I have to borrow, if the business plan is good, I will gladly support her. But I'm saying that how many people have this opportunity?
Yes, sure.
How many people who finish school and have parents who will say that instead of thinking of being recruited in the public service or go and work for a bank?
I grew up in Ashama. Your father can even won't ask you for business plan. It's not easy. Money service is not there.
You see that how many people will have that opportunity?
It's not easy.
So we should be realistic to know enough to know that some people they will finish school, they don't have anything other than to look up to government,
and that's the reality.
Apply. That's the reality.
Let me
or
give
the private sector.
Let me give you an example. I grew up in Accra, in my area.
Where?
There's Zongole. Just
where you are the MP?
Yes, just 100 meters off my house. And I can tell you, when I was in secondary school, he was at the university. He went to Kenyan University. He qualified. There's Wiafe. He qualified one of the best civil engineers. Came out and decided to go and work at AESC at that time. All of a sudden,
AESL.
AESC at that time.
Okay.
It's not AESC.
He moved into Okanshin to start his own business.
Now,
today, I know about 5 times he's won the national best distributor of Unilever products.
Does he support you in your campaign?
Yes, he's a rich man. Yes, he's a rich man.
He supports you in
your campaign. He's the best supporter.
Yeah, Rafi, good morning.
He's the best supporter of Dambotre. Yeah, but because we are all friends. Dambotre,
for the examples, Coco King and all those people.
Yes.
The examples.
He was in the UK. He came back.
Examples.
A1 today is a big businessman. He's employed a lot of people. And on my road, in the morning when I was coming, you see a number of people who are waiting to take the bread and go and sell. Yeah. Young boys and young girls.
Charlie.
It's clothing them. So I'm saying it's not just a matter of you coming out of university. The university education only opens up your mind to be able to think by yourself and be creative. It is not a guarantee for work. Those days when we were giving jobs when we were in school, I got a job when I was a student. I
agree with you, but I'm saying the environment too is critical. If Roland decides that this business here, multimedia business, people always going on the net to look at my Joy Online News. It pays so much. Roland wants to set up his own thing. He needs capital. He has to go to the bank. He goes to the bank. If the interest rate is killing, it may deter him. So the general environment...
So you're saying there are realities on the ground?
Yes, general environment will assist.
Thank you very much. Our own Ghana Economic Forum discussion we're doing here right now. Thank you very much. And Obi Amwase-Bonsuama, Member of Parliament for Ekrapim South, but also the Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, and someone who had been a Deputy Minister for that ministry, but also substantive for sports, and Member of Parliament for the Ododio constituency is Edwin Neelante van der Poy, Vampy.
He doesn't use the Edwin much. When he came to politics, he dropped the Edwin. Is it Neil and T?
No, he's always
when I was in GBC.
No side note conversation.